Hey guys, Brazen here. Welcome to my channel. This is actually my very first video on this channel, so don't judge me too hard. But I decided to make a beginner's guide for the game Final Fantasy XIV, which is one of my favorite games. I've been playing this game for a long time, and there might be people out there who want to try to get into the game, but might be overwhelmed because of all the content, all the expansions that have come out, all the patches. And I kind of want to go over the classes that are available for this game and what the roles are and what they represent. Alright, let's get into these roles. First up is Tank, Paladin, Warrior, and Dark Knight. Your main job as a tank is to make sure no one else gets hit by holding the attention, or otherwise known as enmity or threat, of the mobs, and most of the time you are going to be in charge of the group to make sure that you navigate the dungeon. Next is Healer, comprises a White Mage, Scholar, and Astrologian. It's really simple. Your main job is just to replenish the health bars of your party members, as well as some support spells, and you can actually add damage when you have downtime. Next is Melee DPS, Monk, Dragoon, Ninja, and Samurai. You're going to be with the tank most of the time on the front lines, and you have to execute your positionals on most of your attacks to make sure the damage is done correctly. Next is Physical Range DPS. Just like it says, at your range, you don't do as much damage as the melee DPS or the caster DPS, but you do actually have some support spells, which is pretty cool if you like to help your party members. Last is Magic Range DPS. Your range DPS, you do actually do a lot of damage, but it's in the style of magic spells. They're all pretty unique. All these classes accomplish the same goal depending on what role they are. Alright, I'm going to try to go through these classes as quick as I can. There are quite a few of them. I decided to use a Storm's Blood Countdown Day fan kit. You can find it on FFXIV.com. Anyways, first up is Warrior. They use two-handed axes as their weapon. Their aesthetic revolves around Bestial Rage, Bestial Wrath. They are one of the three tanks, even though they don't look like it, and they do a lot of damage. Next tank up is Dark Knight. Their aesthetic revolves around darkness, dark spells, blood. They incorporate magic damage, unlike warriors, and their weapon of choice are two-handed swords. The last tank up is Paladin, which is my personal favorite. Their aesthetic revolves around holy spells, a shield, one-handed sword, a lot of support spells, and even curative spells. Okay, let's get into these three healing classes. First up is Scholar. Their main focus is shields and preventative damage. They're really useful if you're trying to block a lot of damage, and they even have a pet to help heal. Next up is Astrologian. They're special in the sense where they're versatile because they can bounce between the stance that has shields and the stance that has regen instead, and they have cards that help buff their party members with all sorts of different buffs. The third and last healer is White Mage. They're not that complicated, they're not that complex, but they have a lot of healing into their kit. If you're looking for a simple class that heals a lot, White Mage is it. Okay, let's get into these melee classes. Don't forget to watch your positionals, read your abilities to see if you go behind the mob or to the side of the mob. First up is Monk. They specialize in hand-to-hand combat. They do have a few flashy abilities, and they have to keep up a lightning buff in order to maximize their damage output. They use fist weapons and sometimes just their fists. Ninjas are special in a sense where they have to use ninjutsu to incorporate their magic damage and their physical damage abilities, and they even have a special ability that a lot of people like that will increase the damage on the target for a set amount of time. Dragoon is next. They have a dragon-like and wyvern-like aesthetic. They use two-handed lances, and they even have jump attacks that makes them very mobile feeling, which is pretty cool. Last up is Samurai. They use two-handed katanas. Samurai is also pretty simplistic, but they do look pretty cool, and they're very strong. Like I said, watch your positionals in order to maximize your damage on all these classes. Okay, next up is Bard. Bard uses a bow that acts as their instrument. Bard doesn't do as much damage as a melee or caster classes, but they're still really important because they have a lot of useful supporting abilities. Next is Machinist. Machinist uses a gun. They have a technology aesthetic. They're very similar to Bard because they act as a supporting role. They don't do as much damage as casters or melees, but they're still also very important. Okay, time for the caster classes. First up is Summoner. Summoner uses a book as their weapon. They use pets to help them do damage. They specialize in damage over time spells, and they can even raise an ally if they need to. Red Mage is next. Red Mage uses a rapier as their weapon, which is kind of like a fencing sword. They can cure and raise their allies as well. Every other spell cast is instant, and they have a mixture between light and dark damage. Last but not least is Black Mage. Black Mage uses a staff as their weapon. What they don't have in support spells like the other two caster classes, they make up in damage, a lot of damage. Alright, well, I guess that pretty much covers everything I was planning on covering in this video. This is my very first video, so don't judge me too hard. I tried my best, and I really don't know what the fuck I'm doing, so I hope somebody's gonna see this, and somebody's gonna want to do exactly what I was planning on doing, which is play the game. Alright guys, let's get ready for Shadowbringers. I'll see you guys soon. Subscribe if you like what you saw.